Jane Rowland, so good to chat today.
Yeah. How's it going?
Going well, going well. I'm really excited to unpack this topic just because I know a lot of people in my life are maybe, career transition or pivoting. It feels like, in 2024, where we're at right now. So to sit down with someone like yourself who has background from the hiring agency side, looking at creative careers and then just career growth in general, this felt like a really good, timely conversation to have.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there is a lot going on right now. It's a big topic of conversation in my professional and personal life, just kind of with, you know, everyone. So excited to share both aspects or both sides and kind of dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I think it'll be really good. We can kind of talk through today, both perspectives, from someone who is in the job hunting and maybe, has considered using a placement agency or maybe it's not even on their radar. And then the organizational side as well. I know, M&P works with a lot of different types of organizations. So I'd love to, pick your brain around, current trends in hiring, what you're seeing, and maybe, identifying best practices, pitfalls for someone who'd be coming and, using a hiring agency. Um, would love to sort of fill in the gaps and hear a little bit about your background, what brought you to this point in life, and just where what your role involves at this point in time.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank you. So I kind of fell into recruiting randomly, as I think a lot of recruiters do sometimes, and started in sales. So right after college, I went to San Diego State. I fell into a sales position where I was doing high amount of outbound cold calling, emailing, all that jazz. It was a very intense role, but I think it really prepared me for the professional world in a great way, like some good skills that I'm happy I developed at a younger age. After COVID happened, I kind of fell into recruiting in a digital marketing space. So the company I worked for, Adaptive, was focused mainly on digital marketing and tech. So learned how to build up my own book of business, 360 desk, bringing on clients, working with candidates, kind of matching the pieces to the puzzle all together. And then was there for about 2 years, pivoted to a new industry in environmental engineering at Talisman, and actually helped build up their environmental engineering team from the ground up. So that was, again, having a sales aspect of bringing in new business and new clients, and then also having that recruiting aspect of finding the candidates to fit in those positions. So it was very fun because there's a lot going on both the recruiting and the sales side. It was an amazing learning experience. Found that I worked a little bit better within the creative and digital space. So moved to M&P on the sales side as a client partner. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now on the day to day, bringing in net new business, helping to reactivate our dormant accounts, mushrooming out some accounts, and then, yeah, just working on the account management side and figuring out how we can best serve our clients on a day to day. So it's a brief overview, but I can definitely get more specific.
Yeah, I sometimes feel like careers that are a little bit more meandering are good because they equip you with that broad expertise. When I'm mentoring someone or talking with someone earlier in their career, maybe they're a little stressed out about, oh, I took this early career left turn into, a different industry, or it wasn't where I wanted to end up. My advice is always just do, as long as you're doing something. We
Yes.
the thing to remember, when I'm, career coaching someone is, we are the keepers of our own career story. So that left turn is only a complete, out of bounds left turn if you believe it to be. Maybe like in college, I took a summer job as a truck driver, which, was very much not what I was studying. But looking back, the customer service, the, jumping into unfamiliar situations, just the ability to dive into an industry that you maybe have no background in and wrap your head
Hmm.
around. It feels like maybe later, as you're moving toward your ideal role or crafting a slightly different trajectory and career, you can really use that, build upon it, and work that in and say, yeah, on my resume that looks kind of out of place, but in reality, here's what I learned and here's how it applies to this current role I'm working toward or working
Yeah.
at. Um,
Yeah.
Very cool.
No, I fully agree. And I think with that too, just kind of something I wanted to bring up today was just redefining skills and figuring out what you're good at. And I think a lot of the time, this is what I've talked about with my friends too, is that your job description, your responsibilities have this specific written down day to day. But then as you get into that role and, kind of develop new responsibilities, whether that's on your own, whether that's with a team, you kind of start to develop these other skills and abilities that you might not know that you necessarily have until you really start to analyze, what your day to day is. So that's kind of something else I took from those left and right turns, is that you're developing these skills that you might not know, you have right away until you look at it. So it's a cool
Yeah,
part.
it almost feels like there's these meta skills that, regardless of industry, are broadly applicable. Writing, communication, leadership,
Yeah.
project management, customer service. I mean, starting out in sales, there's so many lessons you can learn from just the the uphill
The
slog that is
grind.
sometimes the grind. Yeah, yeah, and you can definitely translate those into other industries, and use them to take in a good direction. I love that.
Yeah,
Very
definitely.
cool. So what's tell me about your role right now, like the state of hiring in 2024. Seems like it's really, obviously, AI is thrown into the mix and it's a really dynamic time and place. Obviously there are some similarities to, the job market of the past, but what are some of the trends you're seeing that are new? Are there common things that your candidates are coming to you and asking, or maybe stumbling blocks that you consistently see people wrestling with? Give me a little bit of a mindset of the state of play of the industry from your perspective as a client partner at M&P.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I can only speak from obviously my experience and kind of the industry that we're in right now. But what I've seen is that the hiring process is a little bit more chaotic right now, with companies receiving over 100 plus job applications daily through LinkedIn, Indeed, their own websites. There's just an infiltration of these applicants. And this is where staffing agencies like M&P can come in and provide value, because what I've seen is when hiring managers are having to sift through these hundreds of applicants, they also are having to get done their day-to-day responsibilities and continuously work in their role. So it's almost like adding on another aspect of their job, which can be extremely challenging, especially when you have project deadlines and you have teams that you're managing. And so then on top of that, you're tasked to bringing in, entry to high level candidates to be on your team. And I feel like a lot of the time it seems, almost a good thing on the client side to have an influx of these applicants. But at the same time, it can be almost so overwhelming, because to find that person that's 100% going to be the fit for the role can be very grueling, to go through all those applications, handle the interview processes, negotiate offers. So working with a recruiting agency kind of in this aspect helps with cutting down that time and really giving or providing those top-notch applicants that you would otherwise have to take, 2 or 3 or 4 weeks longer to find. So, just kind of running through and figuring out how to save time, how to get through these applications, how to find the best person for the job when it's a oversaturated market is a huge kind of state of hiring that I've seen right now. So, yeah, I mean, sorry, kind of ranted on that one, but
Yeah.
hope that makes sense.
Do you feel like you can tell, candidates who put in the extra time or really are interested in a role, and maybe the cover letter is just a little bit more directed versus those who, maybe just sort of have the generic, like, should an applicant customize a cover letter? How would someone stand out, versus just, sounds like there's tons of applicants in general. Are the things that a candidate can do to really say, oh man, that job sounds amazing. I want to ensure I'm, sort of top of stack amongst the applicants.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So again, just speaking from my experience and opinion, I think if you find a position that you look at and you're like, this is me, this is my job, I really want to do whatever I can to get to this. One of the top things I would do is research the company a little bit and reach out to that hiring manager on LinkedIn. So you can connect with them, maybe send them a note in the connection request, wait till you connect with them and then message them. And I think with that, you only have like 300 characters to get your point across. So within those characters, really confirming why. So not just, I'm interested in this, would love to talk, but like I have 5 years of experience. I have experience with these tools. I have this, that, and that, because at the end of the day, they're so busy. They're just trying to really get through their inboxes. If you send something that's straight to the point of, this is why I'm a good fit, this is why you should want to talk to me, it's going to get their attention way more than just kind of a general message, which is still good. But I think that would be a big piece of advice. And then on top of that, really making sure you are tailoring your resume to the position. And this is something that's been said so many times and is, somewhat easier to do. But I think really getting down to the nitty gritty and focusing and putting that time in is going to help. And then also if you can, send that over to them as well, that would be a big thing, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting. Organizations put so much time and energy into crafting their organizational brand. As job applicants, there's an equal opportunity to craft a really strong personal brand, differentiate, figure out, really identify core values that shine through, such that, if you're applying for a job with a Nike, or, take your pick, a very brand forward organization, your personality traits, as a candidate can really come out based upon the type of language you use, the type of photos you curate, the type of organizations you affiliate with, the places you donate your time. I was talking with a group of college students last semester and sort of steering them on that journey. And there's this really interesting, you think of crafting a personal brand, it really is what's authentic around your personal story. So it's your background, it's your origin story, it's the culture with which you identify, and really it's what you like, how you want to be seen, and really where you want to go, what you believe in, and it's it's crafting those sort of intangibles, and that can be doing the touchy feely work of, okay, I'm really going to dive into my Myers Briggs, or man, I've heard
Yeah.
about the Enneagram. I'm going to go take the Enneagram and really figure out who I am, because that's whenever I hear someone is sort of going through a career transition, it's such a great time to just spend some time, whatever the process is, going on walks, journaling, sort of figuring
Yes.
out, okay, what do I want? Like, what has worked in my past roles? What did I like doing? What do I want to do more of? What did I maybe not like doing? Where was I not as strong as others? Because at the end of the day, we all benefit more from capitalizing on our strengths and really, advancing those than, sort of mitigating those areas where maybe we're not as strong.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. And I love that you brought up the Myers-Briggs too, because there is kind of a point after doing, the hardcore cold calling sales that I was like, okay, I don't know if this is what I want to do, but maybe there is some aspect of this. And I took the test, and to anyone, curious about it, I would definitely look into it and take it. Because at the end, it kind of gives you an overview of what you're interested in, how your personality kind of is, and then what industries could be good industries for you to look into, and what ones you might not be as fulfilled in. So I think that was cool too, because there are so many options in this day and age. We've unlimited resources at our fingertips that it's almost like if you're looking to switch industries or direction, it's hard to decide where to go. So that could be a good step to take
Yeah.
first in
And
learning.
once you
Yeah.
get some of that, but once you have some career behind you, you can also, I think it becomes even more helpful because you can look at it and say, okay, well, I'm an INTP, so it made sense that, maybe that sales role was awesome, or that didn't feel good. It didn't feel quite right. There were aspects of, that customer service job I had back in the day where it was like, oh, okay, I like being helpful. I like being
Mhm.
responsive. I like learning new things. and you can sort of dial it in and figure out. It's just this whole really it's just like this becoming a more self-actualized, just aware of who you are, what you can
Yeah.
bring to a workplace, what you can contribute to a team, and really just get in greater career alignment. Find that actual calling versus okay, just another job that pays the bills and checks the box.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We scratched on it a little bit, but tell me a little bit about how. I mean, it's AI is the elephant in the room around in every industry. How do you see it touching where you're at? Is it changing the type of applicants you're seeing coming in? Is it changing? Obviously, resumes, cover letters. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so it's interesting because there is we could probably talk about that for all day, but it definitely is changing the space. I think there's pros and cons to it. For example, I think I sent you a couple websites earlier, but like one of them is called JobScan, and basically what they do is they optimize candidates' resumes with keywords. So it's more like a resume scanner that kind of analyzes your resume against recruiter preferences and hidden requirements that are buried in the job description that are specifically there, so that they can kind of pull the keyword out of your resume. So these will help with enhancing your resume and your keyword search when you're applying to specific jobs. So that's a cool website to check out. And then obviously there's like the big ones like ChatGPT or Bard. And I
Yeah.
think with these ones, it's kind of tricky because it's tempting to just take your resume and throw it in there and say, make this look a little better for me or rewrite this for me, which I've totally tried before. And I'm sure a bunch of people have, but I think it's important to remember that like you need to have a personal aspect to it, and just having it rewritten by those isn't going to necessarily help, but it could give you a rough draft of like how to, more organize your resume or how to kind of make it a little bit more relevant to the job description. But it's never good to just copy and paste that, because that's not you. So you really need to add yourself into it if you are going to do that, which I think is just kind of an interesting topic. But
Yeah. No, I think
yeah,
it's such a good point where, if you trust AI for your final output, it's going to read the same as everything else that's out there.
yeah,
I don't know, as a writer, I really have found AI to be useful, like ChatGPT, Anthropic, as a really great research assistant. Like it brings up
yes,
topics or gives me just the rough, like it'll do the heavy lifting. And I've seen, artists use it the same way, graphic designers, where it does the really just initial fact finding, image search, but there is, it takes it to that 50% mark or the 75% mark, and then we can be more efficient. Job seeker can be more efficient where okay, I'm adding my own polish to this, or making it resonate with who I am, how I want to be seen, maybe really dialing it into the specific nuances of the role. So I
yeah,
think that's a really good key learning. Let AI take it most of the way, but really, at least at this point, there's value in having the human elements on the back end where you are the final gatekeeper that checks and makes sure okay, this does position me in a good light for this role, or yeah, that's something that I would say naturally in my cover letter
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like use it as a template, because then, when you get their interview or you're going through the process, if it doesn't sound like you on the resume, it's like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm still keeping my personality through this process.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's good. Coming to interviewing, I mean, interviewing is always going to be part and parcel of the job search. What are you seeing in sort of this new Zoom, Loom moderated era where, maybe, a candidate isn't sitting down face to face anymore and it's over Zoom, or it's, at least for the pre-screening. What are you seeing, finding best practices, pitfalls around using these new tools like this to in the job hunt?
Yeah. So again, I think there's obviously pros and cons to everything, like being able to be remote and interview through Zoom or Skype or whatever, and kind of engage that way and live where you want and do those things. That's great. But then also, you lose that personal aspect. So I think we're really in an age right now where there's some interesting like AI and tech softwares that are coming out to sort of like make this a little bit better. So for example, there's a website called HireVue, and what they do is it's basically a practice video platform and also an interviewing and hiring video platform where there's some AI aspects that can kind of read your like facial expressions, and it's more of a computer to interview aspect. So the platform will be asking you the questions and you answer. So it's not as person to person, but it's more like
Almost like an
it's
interview coach, like an
yes.
automated interview coach.
Yeah, kind
Nice.
of like that.
Huh.
And then it's and that's why Loom too, I think is a great tool because you can video record yourself and send it in almost like with your resume. Because right now, again, with hiring being so competitive, taking like if you're comfortable with setting up a video, recording yourself, explaining who you are, and sending that in with your resume, that's also going to make you stand out more than just the average Joe who forwards over their resume and then there's nothing else. So
Yeah,
those
it
are
probably adds
two.
some depth to who you are, makes you more than just
Yes.
a name on
Yeah.
a page, and even a headshot. You get to represent yourself. That's really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. And just
Huh.
to kind of like give yourself that personality that sometimes we're lacking this day and age with everything being in video. It's like this piece of paper isn't just me. So how do I get across that, this is who I am and that I could be a good fit for this role? So that's a good option to kind of look into for interviewing.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. I have to drop a shout out. So when COVID hit, I joined Toastmasters, which
Oh yeah.
public speaking minor. I'd done my time in college, but the more time I spent in the art of communication, I mean, honestly, that's like my bread and butter. So to be able to up level that, become more comfortable, it's one of those, we talked about those meta skills earlier. Felt like being able to speak with confidence, whether one on one with a larger group, is one of those nice things that that's going to help in so many ways. And it was helpful.
Yeah.
It taught me to convey ideas succinctly, read the room, read the audience, see if people are tracking, following along, using stories. Stories are powerful. We humans
Yes.
always resonate with stories. So being able to give an illustration of, a time when I was responsible, or a time when my team was going through a rough time and I stepped up and, led us through it, can be really key. So, and it's super affordable. There's chapters around the world, but have to give a shout out to Toastmasters because it was really good. It was a good 2 year period to really focus on that, and
Yeah.
upskill there.
That's a great platform too. And I know Coursera too is a cool one. Like my boyfriend and I have been kind of looking through and figuring out other skills that we can learn because again too, it's like it's never too late to develop the things you want to develop. And if you're interested in something, we have so many resources at our fingertips that even if you have the slightest bit of interest, it's totally worth it just checking it out. And if you do the course, if you complete it, you decide you're interested in something else, you can do that too. Like there's really no limit to what you can learn nowadays. So it's just really cool to take those types of I guess like websites and look through them.
Yeah, yeah. In your
Yeah.
life, just in the creative realm, what courses are you tacking on, or what have you found most useful to add to the mix, just in your personal career development?
Yeah. So, I mean, recently I've been messing around with Canva a lot. So, shout out
Yeah,
to the creatives and the designers and everyone um, who likes to use Canva, but I feel like it's very fun. So I've been kind of teaching myself that
nice.
just to kind of help with like marketing and, eventually building up my brand a little bit more. And then for me, I was very interested in programmatic when I worked at my previous company. So just kind of looking into other digital marketing and like programmatic courses to take. I always thought that was pretty cool. So like the Trade Desk, Google Ads, TV
Yeah,
360, all that good stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That kind of lower funnel, lower stack, Martech, yeah, is good. If people are into the nuts and bolts, it changes a lot. But if someone's willing to keep pace and sort of understand the fundamentals, I did a 6 month rotation at a pay-per-click SEO agency and learned enough
Oh
to
yeah.
become just mildly dangerous, but also that, people who are creative but also love spreadsheets and pivot tables and really getting deep in the analytics. I always tell them, there's a good, life to be had. There's a good career to be made in sort of the lower funnel optimization, ad tech. There's you can go deep down that rabbit hole around certifications or whatever. Nice. Yeah. I signed up for a
Yeah.
section school in the past year, and they've been doing some really excellent AI prompt writing courses where
Oh,
really, regardless of tool, the way in which you prompt, ChatGPT, Anthropic, whatever, the documents you prime it with, I've really been getting interested in training. So developing custom LLMs, particularly around brand voice, brand narrative, teaching it how a brand talks around creating social posts. Obviously, like we said, there's still the human element in the mix, but really doing like training small LLMs has never been easier, especially with no code approaches. You don't have to be a comp sci major, have computer science in your background to develop really basic tools that can be super helpful.
yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. I'm curious to hear what you're learning more with those like ways to reach out within ChatGPT, like how to set up those subjects and how to craft your
Yeah.
language to make it more niche.
Yeah, I the biggest takeaway was you can build in checkpoints. So rather than setting ChatGPT to a task and waiting for the output, you can structure it such that you can ask it effectively to show its work. So, and it's getting better about this. And in some ways, there's this whole idea of AI hallucination, where it's like you don't really know where that data came from because it's such a huge, I mean, trillions and trillions of words and content sources, to build that in and kind of say, okay, lead me through your thinking here as you're doing this, and check in. Building in those waypoints can be really helpful, depending upon what you're getting to. And then yeah, just I've been using ChatGPT the most just because it was the first thing I came upon. But yeah, it can ingest PowerPoint presentations, basic Word docs, .txt
Hmm.
files, and really summarizing is the best thing I found to be really useful for summarizing ideas, summarizing main points. I actually sat in with on a short course where a guy was talking about he was a big journaler. So he had his last year of journals, and he actually used his GPT as a coach. So he asked it to,
Oh,
hey,
cool.
tease out, what common trends are you seeing, or look at this through almost like having a like a personalized AI therapist on hand, around like, hey, what goals are you seeing? What themes would come out? Are there personality traits that I'm missing because I'm so close to it? So kind of getting outside, it's always hard to read the label from inside the bottle. So having even just an automated tool that can kind of get out and provide you that third party perspective, like a human coach would be, or like a human partner would be, can be a really, I was like, oh, I'd never thought of that. That's a really, really interesting usage model.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's super cool. And just like using it in a beneficial way too, that can help you. So not, using it to write things for you, but using it to kind of coach and help, produce what you're looking to do. I love that.
Yeah. 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 Oh man. All right. So a bit of a left turn. Tell me a little bit about how networking plays into the career search. I know it's something I've really doubled down on it. I have my own thoughts, but I'd love to hear just from your perspective, maybe what's working, what doesn't, thoughts on building, in-person networks, digital networks like LinkedIn. Any thoughts around that, and like how you see that fitting into to your view of the hiring process?
Yeah, yeah, good question. So networking is massive. I think it's one of the number one things you can do to kind of help with your career and help with your business, both client side and candidate side. And so I think following along to LinkedIn groups is huge, whether they're ones that are in your city that you can go to events for, whether they're just, more specifically within your expertise where you can learn new things and connect with people that way. I think that's massive because in that case, you're meeting people who you otherwise wouldn't. And then that will also give you the opportunity to be in situations that you otherwise wouldn't be in as well. So I think, yeah, definitely following along through like LinkedIn pages, obviously like local networking events here in San Diego. We have a ton of just like digital marketing events. We have creative events, even just like little pop-ups where, people are hanging out for like a happy hour or a coffee. Just, I think getting out and going to like maybe one a month could really, really help with just growing that brand for yourself. And then also connecting, because you never know where any of these meetings will go.
Yeah. Yeah. Shared affinity groups are such a key, like a great place to start. I used to be really stressed about reaching out to people, but then you realize, we're all just human. And maybe, like you and I geeked out over surfing, when we first chatted, and it was
Yeah.
just, you have that immediate point of connection and you're like, oh, cool. You at least, it gets a conversation started, right? Rather than, just
Right.
identifying those points of commonality, or, maybe someone's a dog person or a cat person. You can just immediately, it becomes less of like, what do we talk about? And more like, I'm kind of on the introvert side of the introvert extrovert spectrum. So to be able to talk about a thing and just, see someone else's eyes light up, because who doesn't? I mean, if they're a dog person, of course, they're going to show you pictures of their dog or their kids, or,
Of course.
take your pick.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
fun.
agree. That's such a good point. Like the connection aspect of it, just finding something that you can connect with. And I think too, what I've learned this year is staying true to what you're interested in is a
Yeah.
massive help, because that's going to lead you to finding more people who are the same, have the same interests as you. And
Yeah.
then, maybe they work at other places, maybe you kind of get connected that way, but just staying true to like what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, following along with that more is going to really help just bring you to where you want to be.
Well, it'll show you're more interested. I mean, like when we're passionate about something, it comes out, right? Your eyes, you see
Yeah.
someone's eyes light up when, yeah, you talk about a sport or a hobby or something that's really special to them. That passion will come out. I imagine, if someone brought that passion to an interview or an initial meeting or a coffee, someone would be like, oh, cool. Like we all, yeah, we get on that same wavelength and you're like, oh, cool. I may not be super into, Civil War reenactment or whatever, but I like that you're so into it, and you just see their eyes light up when they talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Oh,
love that.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Just going through, we kind of had our map of what we're going to talk through. Gosh, any thoughts or anything else we haven't, anything you want to touch upon around MMP's approach? I love the tagline. Was like the creative party or something like that. Is that still kind of in play? I love that idea of, your website is so unique. Like it doesn't feel like a typical staffing agency, and that's a good thing. Like it has this really nice, welcoming, very human vibe, which I picked up on, from our first conversation, which is why I thought it'd be interesting to sit down and chat. I'd love to hear just kind of how that's going and how you're seeing, where you're seeing some points, what's resonating in the marketplace, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you. Also, sorry, I think my Wi-Fi might be going a little in and out. But yeah, no, I love how we are the creative party and we're a different type of staffing agency. So we came about 14 years ago and started by two creatives who just thought that there could be a different type of recruiting market. They were really well connected within the Portland scene. That's where we were founded. So shout out Portland. And they, yeah, really developed an amazing approach to recruiting. So a lot of our recruiters, if not all, have a background in creative, which I think kind of gives them a leg up when we're working with our clients and working with candidates, because they know what profiles should look like. They know what, they need to be seeing from websites and work and projects that will relate the best to whatever clients we have. So just by
Yeah.
having that eye and that experience in it, I think our team just does a really good job. And then, yeah, we're all about basically being human beings. So a lot of, I think, recruiting agencies or the industry can be somewhat cutthroat with just, being the top or being number one. And we're really more about finding the right people for the right position and like making friends while doing it and getting referrals and making it more of a relationship based um, network and model than we'll get you hired for this role and then we never talk to you again, or we'll work with this client on one position and then never talk to them again. I think we're very, very, very huge on that relationship and like transparent aspect, because that's all you can do in
Yeah.
this industry is be
Yeah.
open and honest. And the more you are, the better one, truly. So yeah, that's just our approach. And I think working with candidates in this market, it's good to just be honest with them too, of like, if we don't have something for you right now, stay in touch, let's meet up in person. Let's do whatever we need to do to make sure that if and when a position comes up, you're at the forefront. And, if you're going through these processes and you need help with interviewing advice, offer negotiation, anything, that we're still in their corner, even if it's a client that we don't even work with. Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, like, our job is about helping people and getting them to where they need to be, whether that's through us or not.
Yeah, yeah. No, you made an interesting point. It's the world of work is so small. I mean, you really have to, like, the reputation you bring as a just human being precedes you. So, I think we lost your Wi-Fi. Bummer. Um, Such a good conversation, Jane. Sorry, Wi-Fi bagged out, but yeah, we'll reconnect and after this. But thanks for when you're watching this after. Thanks for joining, and looking forward to future conversations. Thanks for sharing insights around hiring and the state of play in the hiring industry. Thanks.